Hello, everyone. Dr. Margaret here again on the books of the Bible, and today we will be looking at a brief summary of the book of Malachi. The book of Malachi was written sometime between 440 and 400 BC. It contains four chapters, and it was written to the southern kingdom of Judah. Now, the purpose of writing this book was to beckon the people of God to return back to Him and to pronounce God's justice and promise of restoration. Malachi, whose name means the messenger, was a prophet whose ministry took place during the era of Nehemiah and Ezra. The book of Malachi was written by the prophet Malachi, as stated in Malachi chapter 1, verse 1, and it is the last book of the Old Testament. Malachi prophesied approximately 100 years after the Jewish people returned from Babylonian captivity. He foretold the coming of a messianic forerunner who would announce the appearance of Christ more than 400 years after his own lifetime. During the time of Prophet Malachi, the walls of the city and homes had been rebuilt, and the people were enjoying God's protection, God's goodness all around them. Unfortunately, they had grown complacent again in their relationship with him. Malachi's message was directed at God's people who had once again strayed from his ways. This time, his prophetic words also called out the priests who had become corrupt and neglected their sacred duties. During Malachi's era, the people failed to practice routine tithing in the temple. And we read that in Malachi chapter 3, verse 7 to 10. And the priests were indifferent in their religious responsibilities. Divorce had become rampant, it had become the norm, and intermarrying with foreigners, individuals who worship idols or foreign gods, were frequent, despite being strictly forbidden under the Mosaic law. Malachi 2, chapter 10 to 12, we see that there. Now, despite the people's disobedience, God continued to love them and remind them of this love in Malachi 1 from verses 1 to 4. His sustaining love is evident throughout the Old Testament. The prophet Malachi encouraged the people to humble themselves through prayer and return to God, who was ready to restore all the blessings that they had lost. As children of God, they must take responsibility to their actions and faithfully serve and reverence the Lord their God. And so I'm going to stop here on the book of Malachi, a brief summary of the book of Malachi, and we will continue next time with the book of Matthew. So now we are going into the New Testament, and so we will be looking at the book of Matthew. And until then, do remain blessed and take care.